Yes, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your invitation. For this debate about aid, I think that it is very important to ask three questions. The first one is development aid for what? For economic assistance? No. To provide global public goods? Yes, George. Because when I take one example myself, when we wanted to decrease the mortality rate of missiles, we put a lot of money for this program, and we obtained the reduction by 85% of the mortality rate for missiles. The second question is there enough money? George, I answer yes. No, I don't want. I am sure that it's not enough. I am sure. Because how we can transform global public goods to universal public goods for every human being, and particularly for the right to life. There is the scissors effect with an increase in needs and a decrease in official development aid, excepted some countries like Norway. The scissors effect between public resources and the need to finance international solidarity for every human being is the major challenge, and means we have to fulfill an historical responsibility. And we must find new funding instruments and revisit our approach to solidarity. How can we close the gap between ever important needs and diminishing public assistance? Of course, by increasing pressure on governments to increase their ODA, but as well by creating innovative financing for development. The first type of innovative financing is the idea of a global solidarity tax. It is a completely new idea that will bring great progress in the future of development. For the first time, a tax voted by the parliament of a country will not be collected by the Minister of Finance or directly managed by this country, but in a supranational collective manner. For me, it is the best tool to create a globalization of solidarity facing economic globalization. Because the globalization of the economy without the globalization of the solidarity is a way of counting disaster. The first example of a global solidarity tax works. It is UNITED. In 2006, we have decided to propose a simple idea: increase the price of a plane ticket in France by an increment so small it is completely painless for the traveler. €1 for all domestic and European flights, €4 for international flights. It is innocuous for the traveler, it is harmless for the state, and essentially, if this harmless financing is done for a very large number of people, this will constitute large sums of money. In 4 years or 5 years, 2.2 billion US dollars with this small idea. And now 15 countries have passed the law. And finally, George, it's a new mode of governance. I agree with you about the governance so far. We have to create a new governance with governments which work with the NGOs and civil society, and for a private-public partnership. The results, one example, 8 out of 10 children on therapy for HIV globally treated with UNITED funds. UNITED is only a model, only a laboratory. But what has been done with airline tickets could be done tomorrow in other economic sectors directly affected by globalization, such as financial exchanges. And I strongly support the idea for the next G20 about a financial transaction tax. Because United works, because the supranational level works, we have to support this idea. We have to change the scale now. The last question is, can we spend better? I want to take one example. It's the United Medicines Patent Pool. What is it? It's very simple. Because the rules of the intellectual property on patents, a human being living in developing countries must wait between 15 to 20 years before having access to the same drug one gets in Paris, New York, or Oslo. This is truly shameful for humanity. And then 10 million people with HIV currently wait for access to medicines. This is the reason why we propose a groundbreaking initiative, the creation of a non-profit structure in which patent owners, the biggest pharmaceutical companies, agree to license their patents to enable generic producers to manufacture, commercialize generics against HIV exclusively for developing countries. And we are going to announce in June, July, or September the first patent pool of the humanity for medicine. Therefore, for the first time in the history of the humanity, the sick living in a poor country will have the same drug at the same time as those living in developed countries. Because we have to change the rules. It's my conclusion. Now, northern companies and northern scientists develop the drugs. Northern institutions regulate and approve them for human use. Northern dominated trade rules affect who can access them and at what price. And crucially, these rules determine whether or not a competitive market can develop. Now we have a responsibility to make the global rules which we have created and continue to control work in the interest of the poor. I think that the history of United proves that innovative financing, funding and spending, particularly a global solidarity tax, is a vital tool in the fight against epidemics and tomorrow against poverty, hunger and climate change. That is not simply about being generous, also in the best interest of the most advanced countries. Peace and international security are at stake here, and we cannot accept the trampling on human rights in developing countries for want of aid. Thank you.